My name is Kassem, and I'm the director of Schreiner Negotiation Institute for the Middle East region. And we're here to discuss how to negotiate in the Middle East. So how to lead a successful negotiation in the region? Respect. Respect is the most important factor. And with that, you would need to build trust. Trust is one of their number one priorities. So how can you build trust? It's built through personal interactions, long small talks, and most probably you'll have to conduct several meetings, which would take a longer time to close a deal than other regions. So the key factor is social conversations. So spend time generously on it and always be flexible in your approach for time and scheduling. Adopting a long-term view and being prepared to be patient will get you very far in this region. When bringing in the conflict, you would need to mention a mutual conflict, what to do to overcome it together, and how to mutually deal with it. Be prepared to compromise on issues to protect the dignity of your counterpart in case of inadvertent decisions. But this is why you need to prepare a long list of demands. Bear in mind that all your statements and your tone need to be perceived as non-hostile and definitely non-aggressive. I mean, even though it's business, it's also personal for them, especially when you are trying to build a long-term relationship with your counterpart. So most importantly, you need to have the right mindset. What is it that you want out of a negotiation? Because I'll tell you something, what they care to see is how you would see them come out as winners as well. After you've prepared within and outlined your demands and clear goals, it's time to open for the negotiation. Social conversations will play a big part in the negotiations in the Middle East. So let them talk and engage in their conversation while actively listening to what they're saying in order to get to know them, how they think, what they like, what they dislike, and most importantly, the common ground for partnership. It's important to introduce early a strong storyline with focus on the big picture, reputational benefits, shared value, collective vision, and above all, long-term relationship. Bear in mind that your social conversations will always be there, so you need to be on the lookout for a moment or a sign or an opening to start the negotiation. So here is where you need to take the driver's seat and set up your agenda, but also stay flexible and ask proactively for changes of direction from their side to include it in your timeline. You need to clarify the decision-making process. I also find that people in the Arab world tend to consult less, possibly because in Arab cultures, decision makers are usually made by a single person or a couple of key people in the top of the hierarchy. Once you have the right person, you need to immediately put the fish on the table with a strong storyline and offer options to solve conflict together. So you finished with your preparation, you finished with your opening phase, and it's time to lead the negotiation process. And how to do that? Well, it's very important to lead from the driver's seat. In the Middle East region, they always want to feel like a winner and a successful person, and to make sure that they know they've gotten the best benefits out of a deal. But don't underestimate your counterpart. Honestly, as they've shown the world, the majority are actually brilliant negotiators. They're very smart, they're refined, they're savvy workers who have made their wealth through hard work and crafty negotiations. So don't expect to close a deal fast, because patience gets you far in this region. You need to present your demands with sufficient negotiation range to allow for trading and avoid making them feel like they've lost face. They tend to focus on win-win, and they expect you to see the benefits of that as well. Also important to note is that due to the fact that they are very, very respectful, they might not give you a straight no, but rather communication might slow down a bit. So I emphasized on how patient you need to be in the negotiation, and often maybe several people and several approvals might be involved. So patience is key. If they tell you, I only have this amount of budget for this year, or present you with an irrational demand where he expresses his walkaway position and tells you, unfortunately, that point specifically cannot be negotiated, don't panic, don't stress out. It's probably a strategy from them and it can play to your advantage by placing in more demands. Always summarize without repeating their exact demand, and praise your counterpart to let them feel at ease that you are definitely hearing what is essential for them and can make the negotiation much more comfortable for them and yourself. Keep in mind that not reaching an agreement is not a failure, but rather a choice. In the Middle East, you always need to send signals to collaborate even when conflict rises. So compromise might be necessary in certain situations to help save face in case of the decision. However, if you haven't reached your minimum target, you need to walk away. And it's very sensitive when you do that because you always want to keep a bridge between you and your counterpart. You need to be naturally believing and owning to what you're saying because they will not find it hostile, but quite the opposite, especially if you adopt a respectful and sincere tone. In case of an agreement, you need to avoid a winner's smile. It will be perceived as disrespectful, so don't say stuff like, well, that's wonderful, I got everything I needed from this negotiation. No, just because you have a victory doesn't mean you actually won, especially in the Middle East. So always stay humble and get early commitment on the contract process because you just closed the deal in an informal matter. Getting the contract might take time. As I frequently mentioned, it's us who are equally winning. If your counterpart doesn't feel like a winner as well, that can be very problematic because they can feel that their dignity is at stake. As I've said, you need to draft the contract very specific. You also need to elaborate descriptions, include penalties and constraints for change requests and deferrals during the implementation phase. Because guess what? They can change their mind. There will always be a thin line in the Middle East between, especially with government entities, between closing a deal and finishing on the implementation and getting your investment out of it.